All right, we're live for Fireside Chat number 240. Not a ton to go over this time around. Number one, uh, congratulations to the Guardians of Runeterra, the platoon of the month, and Gridmunder Lightling, who is the warrior of the month. We have if you aren't aware already, we have a particular voice chat that gets renamed with each platoon of the month. So that means this time it is the Guardians Alcove, is what the Guardians of Runeterra of League of Legends have chosen to name it. Not a whole lot aside from that. We had our officer meeting just a few days ago on Saturday. Talked about a few things. I think the main one that I'll go over here is something that you may have heard about before, but use of WA tags. So essentially, that's clan tags. So putting your abbreviated an abbreviation of the clan name before your nickname on Discord. I mean, or in game, certainly. But what we were talking about was the idea that you can put it in on Discord on, say, official game servers, like, say, official League of Legends server or World of Warcraft server, like those types of things. Really, any server, you could do it, but that's the main place we see it, is technically places where we would really be representing WA as an organization or potentially recruiting people. It kind of gives us that obvious identity of, hey, all these people here are all in WA, they're all from WA, that's a clan, etc. So we just listed that in traditions, that there's three options. The standard ones are going to be either or going to be WA in brackets before your name, either the curly brackets or the standard square brackets, either one. Probably the goal will just be to standardize that on a given server. So it's kind of up to individuals. The square brackets are more standard for many different clans, whereas the curly brackets are a sort of very, very old WA throwback to 2001 on Battle.net, before Battle.net and Blizzard actually outlawed the use of the curly bracket characters in usernames. So before that, that was the tag, and you'll see some very old school members like Commander lurking around who still like to use that tag, and we totally encourage that. So that is kind of the standard tag, the alternative being WA in the square brackets. Beyond that, not too much to announce, I don't think. Let me double check here. I will just throw out to anyone on the Council of Houses. So if you're a lord or lady or prince or princess, do check out the Council of Houses channel under the House HQ category. A lot of stuff has been talked about there. We have Venerian as Vice Admiral, who is in charge of all the cultural stuff. Has been bringing up some very vital points in there. That's also what we've discussed, the revival of duchies, which looks like it's going to happen. I know I kind of talked about that happening a week or two ago. We've kind of been talking about that more, but I think probably it's looking like we will just go ahead and move forward with calling them duchies rather than minor houses, simply to avoid confusion. And this will simply be, if you aren't familiar yet, it's an intermediate step between family and a house. And beyond that, I have officially made a change. I think I talked about earlier, a small change to the rules for creating your own family. So, and let me bring up the full rules here to make sure that I am clear with it. Okay, so to be totally clear, most of the rules, the vast majority, are still the exact same for making a family. So you need at least 10 active members. all of them must descend from one person who also has to join the family, and that's going to basically be the founder of the family. Technically, they don't have to be officially, but they're going to be the progenitor, so to speak. If not in name, then effectively via lineage. But the change rule is that now the family must be united either by lineage, meaning all descendants of that progenitor or founder join the new family, or united by background, meaning a shared origin, game, platoon, or division. So, what does that mean? Well, essentially, what that means is that not all of the descendants of the founder have to join the family. Well, why would that be? The only reason that would be is in the case of uh, the founder and some of their recruits have some shared background, like they all come from a specific game, but not all of their recruits. So the best examples of this come from early WA when, um, for a good 12 odd years, starting in 2001, Battle.net and StarCraft were the headquarters of the clan. That was the heart of the clan. That was always where everything went back to. So usually every other game in Division and Expansion and Platoon was temporary by comparison. And those expansions were often started by people who came from StarCraft and Battle.net. And they would go and start the expansion, maybe get some recruits, and then come back. And even if not, for example, House Kilroy coming from Mech Assault 2, that's where Kilroy himself and his recruits originally came from. They joined the clan via Mech Assault 2, and then eventually were back on Battle.net and StarCraft. So then Kilroy would get more recruits on StarCraft, but you have that original origin on Mech Assault 2. So that is a shared origin that's not going to be shared by all of Kilroy's recruits, for example. I was actually talking to him in a mead hall, and he said that was mostly correct. This is what I had read in the forums, basically, from previous posts. But he couldn't remember if his later recruits were also considered athlings or not. There's examples from House Dane as well, where basically you have not all of the recruits of Dane, for example, are in the same family. There often are different families, like House Dane had a specific family called the Vanir, which were the tier regiment Mech Assault guys from House Dane. So essentially what you have here is families being created from a game background, not necessarily purely a lineage background. So that's why this rule has been added, to try to reflect some of that existing in our history and allowing that opportunity in the future, and a little bit more flexibility with families, because I know it's something that's been requested, and I'm sort of a traditionalist when it comes to that thing. Those types of things, I don't like to just change the rules just willy-nilly, just haha, whatever. Who cares about the last 22 years? But if we find something in history that supports this already existing as an institution or as a rule, then I think it's something that I tend to be much more amenable to. So that is why we have this new rule, which simply says that while all the members of a new family to be created have to descend from the same individual who must also join, they only need to be united, all the people who do choose to join, by lineage, meaning all the descendants join, or some shared background, like a shared platoon or game or division or something like that. And if that latter case is the case, then not necessarily all of the descendants of the family founder need to join. So, as an example, let's say that you are smack in the middle of a series of families and lineages. I'm trying to think of a good example. Let's say the Listling family of House Commander, because they are descended from the Yormlings, who are descended from the Natlings, and descended from the Listlings is the Hrothlings. So what if you're a Listling and you want to make a new family? Well, you're in kind of a rough spot there using the old rules, right? Because that would mean all your descendants have to join, which means that sorry, I should clarify. Let's say you're Soulite from the Listling family. The Hrothling families are just Hrothling family, is descended from Soulite. Therefore, for him to make a new family, throwing aside the logic that the Listlings are his family, so it wouldn't make much sense. But if he did want to make a second one, it wouldn't make very much sense, because the Hrothlings would have to join this new family as well, because they're descended from Soulite. So that wouldn't make much sense. So what could happen here in theory, is let's say Soullight goes to some new game. Let's say Mabinogi, for the sake of argument, recruits 15 people on Mabinogi. They're all active, meets all the criteria. Okay, now he wants to make a new family. Well, now there's a case to be made for Soullight to make a new family with all these Mabinogi recruits because they all have that shared background. And the Hrothlings and Soullight's other recruits wouldn't necessarily have to join that family because they don't have that shared background and connection. So that hopefully illustrates what I'm talking about, is a good example of this. Yeah, that's about all I have, though. So I'm going to go ahead and sign off, and I'll be around for my office hours.